Let's do this clip of Representative Jamal Bowman and I think scandalous Westchester County Executive George Latimer is, the guy hired his girlfriend. Again, I don't care, about affairs. It sounds like the wife must have signed off because it seems like everybody in Westchester County knew that that he was dating someone who was not his wife. But to get her a job, that seems to hire her for the county at $150,000 a year. I don't know. That seems a little dubious. And then the other thing that really annoys me about this race, aside from all of it, frankly, the near $20 million that have come in from AIPAC and AIPAC affiliated super PACs against Bowman in this primary race, but this is a guy, Latimer, who's already said he doesn't want to raise taxes on the rich, which is a huge center point of Biden's, second term agenda. And I don't understand how you have Hillary. Well, I guess I do understand. Like she and Biden not friendly. And so maybe in some ways this is a rebuke to Biden by Clinton.
But it's pretty remarkable, too, for Latimer to make that statement about I'm not going to raise taxes, while then also turning around to say Bowman is the one not abiding by Biden's agenda.
But this has been the whole thing. The Manchin and Sinema and then the Gottheimer in the House were the ones that derailed Biden's Build Back Better agenda. It was literally they were sending out progressives like AOC to go and Jayapal to go on cable to try to sell it. Yeah. And so that's what's just so freaking frustrating about this is Biden's agenda was to the left of what all these centrist candidates wanted. And Hillary just has she loves AIPAC. I don't know what it is because she also endorsed Eliot Engel, and that at the time he was an incumbent and Bowman beat him. But she has an axe to grind against the Bernie Sanders left, against the progressive left, and she also is a staunch supporter of Israel. I think that's mostly it.
Here is Jamal Bowman in debate with the Joe Manchin on the Hudson.
That's good.
Manchin on Hudson.
George Latimer.
It's like Croton on Hudson. Yeah.
Right now about Israel's war with Hamas, gentlemen. It began with the Hamas terror attack, as you know, in Israel back on October 7th, claiming the lives of 1,200 Israelis and others. Concerns have now been raised about the number of civilians killed in the ensuing fighting in Gaza. Mr. Latimer, the closest that we've gotten to your stance on this is a clip from last December. Take a look right here.
That's why I say you use the word genocide. Be very careful what you're saying, because what genocide was gas chambers and people who were herded into a building for the purpose of being killed.
Mr. Latimer, in the months since you made that comment, there have been thousands of additional civilian casualties reported in Gaza. So we ask you now, is what's happening on the ground in Gaza a genocide? You have 60 seconds.
No, it is not a genocide. Let me tell you what it is. It is the unwillingness of Hamas to sit down at the table. President Biden and Secretary Blinken offered a program this very week that had the support of the United Nations, also had the support of Israel's willingness to go along with it. Hamas has to release hostages. All of this began because of the horrific action on October 7th. The way that people went in and raped women and murdered people.
Pause it for a second. This is demonstrably untrue. Now, even Thomas Friedman today, the day after he says this, Thomas Friedman has said the problem is Israel is not willing to end this war. Hamas is willing to give the hostages, return the hostages to end the war. Israel has taken a position that is completely non-negotiable. You cannot say we're going to negotiate with the party sitting across from us, and the first term that must be agreed to is that party goes away
or dies.
Well, that's what I mean. What call it? Dies, eliminated, whatever. That party does not exist, and that's not a negotiation. There's no partner for peace there. There's nothing.
And Latimer is also lying about what genocide actually entails. Let's be clear that the Holocaust was one of the worst crimes against humanity and one of the worst genocides in the history of humanity. But does it needs to include gas chambers? That's the case? Then that means that the Bangladesh genocide is not a genocide, that the Cambodian genocide is not a genocide, that, the Rwandan genocide, the Bosnian genocide, Darfur, all of these things that have been legally defined as genocide under international law wouldn't count, because apparently genocide is only the one that we have in our cultural memory, where the United States gets to look like the moral high ground in that instance because we were on the good side in fighting the Nazis, and because that happened within the West, and that it happened within Europe, where we identify Europe as a part of the collective us. No, we've done many genocides to people in the global South that didn't involve gas chambers.
Horrific action on October 7th. The way that people went in and raped women and murdered people, which he denied until it was impossible for him to continue to deny it. If you can get Hamas to release those prisoners, you can get a cessation of the military action and humanitarian aid. And that is the intelligent way to go forward in peace. When you call 3 days after the attack for ceasefire, what you're really saying is, we want Hamas to keep the hostages, and now we want to start negotiating. That's not a responsible position that he's taken.
Mr. Latimer, thank you. Mr. Bowman, in November, you were outside the White House when you said this about the war. Take a listen.
We should conduct ourselves as a diplomatic democracy, not as a nation that supports and condones just the slaughter of tens of thousands of civilians and almost 10,000 children. We are allowing babies to be killed because of our policies.
So, Mr. Bowman, are you saying that the White House is condoning genocide? You have 60 seconds here.
I'm saying the United States Congress should not be sending weapons to Israel at this time because, according to the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, there is a plausible genocide happening in Gaza right now. We need a permanent ceasefire, which includes a release of the hostages, as I have stated multiple times, humanitarian aid getting into Gaza right now because a famine is setting in. We have almost 40,000 dead. We have 16,000 children dead, and we have hundreds of thousands injured. He won't even acknowledge the existence of the Palestinian people, and he will not say Palestine because he wants to erase them from the consciousness of the American people. Say Palestine. Acknowledge Palestinian people. Let me see you do that.
Mr. Rebuttal? Mr. I'm going to come to you in 1 second, but Mr. Bowman, I want to stay with you for 1 second here, because I heard you say Congress, but is the White House condoning genocide was the question. 15 seconds.
Is the White House condoning genocide?
Are you saying
I would like for President Biden to do more to make sure we are not sending weapons to Israel at this time, and especially Benjamin Netanyahu, who has evoked language that is genocidal, just like President Herzog has evoked language that is genocidal, and that's why international charges are being brought against Benjamin Netanyahu.
Okay, Mr. Bowman, thank you. Mr. Latimer, coming to you for 30-second rebuttal.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that the biggest reason why you have the casualties, Hamas created a terrorist attack, no different than what happened on 9/11 here in New York, where 3,000 New Yorkers died. And in that response to that, Israel did not move into Gaza immediately. And during that period of time, what Hamas did cynically was to put their citizens in between the military force and hide the hostages and put those civilians out there to be killed. I can say the word Palestine. Can you say the word truth? Mr. Bowman constantly bends the truth to his satisfaction. He did not call for the hostages to be released in the beginning. He denied that there were atrocities on October 7th. He's proven time and time again that he's hostile to the state of Israel.
We're going to have a rebuttal. Mr. Bowman, I'm going to give you a 30-second rebuttal here, and then we're going to move on with Henry on this topic too, but you get 30 seconds.
We're staying with the topic. We immediately condemned the October 7th attacks. We condemned the celebration of it that took place in Manhattan. We condemned Hamas immediately. I've met with families of hostages and vowed to help them fight to get them back, and I've called for at least the release of hostages at least 10 times. So when we talk about truth, I'm actually in Congress doing the work of the people of the district, and I understand how Congress works.
Nine times now, you've been missing votes left and right.
Mr. Latimer,
well, he interrupted me, so I thought it was fair game.
Again,
he's missing votes because I don't know what that means, but He did say truth there, so he was able to say it. I guess he did say Palestine, but not really within the context of anything.
He said it like he was saying a word from the dictionary.
Palestine. The hostages returning home is not connected to continuing the war effort. In fact, the hostages are risked on a daily basis over and over again by the continue. I mean, over 100 hostages.
Thomas Friedman agrees with you.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
honestly, don't say that. I might throw up in my mouth.
It's true. I mean, this is like the level of delusion and lying and fabricating and just sort of the willfulness of it. I mean, Thomas Friedman is saying that Latimer is lying here. And so it is so, this is about as normie, down the middle stuff as you can get when Thomas Friedman is the one who's basically saying that's not the case.
And when you poll Democrats, the overwhelming number of Democrats throughout the country are supportive of Jamal's position in terms of a ceasefire and cessation of hostilities in exchange for hostages. Bowman did a great job of reframing the question in a way that was favorable to him in terms of the context of an election, right? Like, so he didn't take a lot of the bait there, and he made, I think, Latimer look silly. It's just does it win over the money? I don't know.
I mean, listen, there is, as we've heard from people, the number of ads, you cannot turn on the television. I imagine the number of mailers that are coming in from Latimer on a daily basis. So we will see. There are opportunities for you to help. We have links to the WFP's phone banking. We have links to canvassing that you can do this weekend in district. You don't have to be in district to do the phone banking. You can come in district to do the canvassing. Links will be in the podcast and YouTube description.
And we have all of the volunteering opportunities at the Mobilize page for Bowman, Congressman Bowman as well. That's the first link where you can get every possible opportunity. But we also have the Action Network event, the Working Families phone banking, and the Jews for Jamal phone banking links as well.
And look, the last poll that was taken was, I think, had Latimer up by like 15 points or something to that effect. But there was 21% undecided. And I will also say, like, this is one of those elections that is going to be different than the general election. We have seen time and time again, special elections, very difficult to poll. This is a primary in the middle of June, with probably almost nothing else on the ballot. I can tell you that, like in the 19th, they didn't even have a primary on the congressional race. It was one state senator that you could vote for. And so this is going to be a question of motivated voters, probably high info voters. And, you can look at and I don't want to stretch this too far, but in Virginia, you had Bob Good, who was the chair of the Freedom Caucus. It looks like he's going to lose his race, but only by a couple hundred votes.
400 votes as of our last count. Yeah.
Which is shocking, because not only did the sort of like the establishment of the Republican Party actively work against him, but Trump came out and endorsed his challenger, because Good endorsed DeSantis
early on.
And of course, McCarthy was pissed because Good unseated McCarthy.
And he spent money on behalf of him as a part of his revenge tour.
Exactly.
Loser.
But the point being is that in these races, it is the real, like the hardcore base that's motivated that comes out and votes. And you can have all the ads in the world, and there could be tens of thousands of more people who, if they went to the polls, would vote for Latimer just based upon the polls. But that doesn't necessarily make them go out. You can help Bowman voters go out by phone banking and by canvassing. And so I think this race is going to be, I would be shocked if there's a 15% differential between these two. I have a feeling that could be a very big surprise in terms of Bowman. And understand, this is if AIPAC and its money loses here, it is going to have a lot of impact going down the road. Now, a billionaire doesn't really care that much about wasting $500,000 here, $500,000 there. If it can support, the slaughter of a lot of brown people, it may be worth the investment as far as they're concerned. But over time, if a political entity, PAC, whatnot, fails in bringing back victories, their funding slowly dries up. So a very, very, very important race. Not just because Bowman is a great progressive congressman and part of the squad, and we're in a defense mode here in terms of protecting these people, but also because it sends a message and undercuts the entire project that AIPAC has in terms of scaring lawmakers into voting for continuing to support genocide.
And to your point on that, sometimes polling in these smaller districts can have a lot of variance. I was trying to find the actual poll numbers, but I was going to guess 20, but it was bigger. AOC was in her race against Crowley in the lead up to the primary in 2018. Polling had her down 36 percentage points. She ended up winning by 15 points. So the point is just don't be cowed by those poll numbers. It just basically means that earlier on he had an advantage because of all the media that he was buying. But there's a real opportunity here to stand up for what's right and support Jamal Bowman and send a message about Republican money in the primary, not just pro-genocide money, but Republican money in a Democratic primary.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.